BBBY making the upside move that we actually were looking for via a backtest on several time frames. Let's go ahead and go over those potentials now. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a BBBY technicals, raw price action, and statistical threat of analysis on this Hump Day Wednesday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, so 5-day BBBY chart here, guys. Please notice that we absolutely got that huge run up to the upside. There are a couple potentials here. First of all, before I touch on the statistics, I want to talk to you about the importance of closing this candle above this range here. 34.75, closing this 5-day iteration would be an incredibly bullish statement coming out of BBBY. Okay, now the reason why is because we're creating one huge bullish engulfing candle formation here. And as you guys already know, or those of you who do follow me, you know that I tend to look at candle analysis in the upper time frames. When you start getting into upper time frames, the rate or the hit rate or the strike rate for the candle formations do become a little heavier. Okay, so they do kind of tend to realize a little bit better on these upper time frames, right? So now let's go ahead and touch down on this the statistics. So just for the people who are new or who haven't seen the video, right? Anytime that we have expanded into critical volatility, which is within the 90 percentile of the BBWP, we have taken or paired this with stochastic momentum for a potential upside continuation. Okay, so anytime that those two things, that condition has met, I have taken a back test throughout its entire trading history, right? So just like this, I can just, kind of zoom out as far as I can, let the price action just kind of load, right? And there are all of my samples, right? So all of those back tests are a total of 35 iterations, of which 25 were guessed correctly to the upside. Okay, so not all of them are guessed correctly. You can see some of them are red, right? So that gives us a 71.43% upside accuracy, meaning that anytime that this condition or this criteria is present, we have a 71% chance that it can happen, right? So now that gives us an upside thrust of an average 62.55% over the span of about 47 days. As you know, we actually were talking about this BBBY hit days ago, so potentially about a week ago now, right? 6 days ago maybe. And we spoke about the firing of the signal right at about this zone here. 62.5% to the upside led to a target that was 52.27. Now the target that we reached today was a high of 56 cents. Okay, so that is technically the stats have already fulfilled. Okay, so and now we're sitting at what? I think the price action was sitting at around 30. I don't remember exactly, right, but I can go to the 12-hour and see where we sat. Yeah, so 35.80 in the after hours. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that we signaled the move and the move fulfilled its mean. Okay, so this is technically, in all technicality, the move has already happened, right? But I want you to notice that we're barely starting to get that uptick here in the 5-day stochastic oscillator, right? So when we start getting this move, that's usually when the signal kind of fires officially. Now, ARCa, what do you mean? You said that it actually fired down here at around 30 cents. Why are you saying that it's potentially firing now? Well, I didn't expect the move to happen this fast, to be honest. I did say 47.08 days, and it happened in the freaking 8th day. So it's kind of moving against what I said. And actually, I'm not sure just yet. I've only heard, but I think other influencers are now talking about BBBY as well. So which could also kind of lead into this thing, kind of going to the upside beyond our volatility play, because that's really the only reason I was calling this out, is just because the math was kind of there. And it was ready for us to call that upside. But this is really interesting that we're barely getting the uptick from the stochastic momentum, and we've already met the average, okay? So which could be indicative of a continuation to the upside. But I would just like for you to understand that the upside probability is already met, okay? So I haven't ran a first standard deviation on this to find out what the lower end of the first standard is or the higher end of the first standard. But if I were to put a quick guess as to, kind of a guesstimate here, just to do the math in my head real quick. I mean, it's a lot of math actually. So you have to square every single iteration, and you divide it by the correct amount of iterations to get the standard deviation, which would probably be around 58 or 57%. So then the standard deviation minus the mean would give you the top side of the 68% of the results in a statistical value, the bell curve on top, right? So that math is kind of what I'm doing in my head. So if we were to kind of guess the lower end of the first standard deviation, that it would give us maybe around 13 to 14%, and the upper end would probably be around 200% move to the upside, right? So meaning that upon this criteria being met, then we would have a 71% chance that we can make a move between 13% to 100 and probably 90% on average, right? With a statistical mean being at around 58%. So, and the mean itself, with the standard deviation being around 58% and the mean landing at about 62.5%. So, if that is in fact the truth, then the upside continuation may actually continue. So if we were to just put a quick guess here and say that we would be moving to the top side of about 190%, then that would put us potentially at about 93.62. What I want to mention to you there is that I've never done this before, by the way, okay? Like, just guess it like this. It's not typical of me to do this. Okay, but if I were to favor the higher end of the first standard deviation, 93 cents, that puts us, let's see, this right here is $1. What is that resistance there? So if we just zoom out, you can see that is our broadening descending wedge resistance line at literally just at about $1, right? So if we are facing 93 cents, so that's just shy of that. Very, very curious that it would take us to a resistance level. Again, I'm not saying that we are going to make that move. I'm just saying that it's interesting that we would be taken there. Okay, so now if you are curious as to where we found that bounce, I don't remember where it was, somewhere over here, right? We were talking about the 2.618 at 2411 being very likely the loading zone with a bottom psychological target objective based on the breakout of the broadening descending wedge. Okay, so my personal preference was actually voiced out loud too to be 2411. We got that bounce to the upside, and here is the 2 fib likelihood that we were talking about. We're closing right within that. Okay, so this is another very important thing. 3-day iteration closing in 18 hours, 51 minutes. So this is very likely going to close in the green, which would then be a suggestion or a catalyst, at least in the charting world, in the technical world, right, for a continuation to the upside, of which would then give validity to the $90 to $1 target. Okay, so I'm not saying that it is doing it. Remember, guys, that my personal move, my personal statistics have already met. That would have been me out and I'm done. Okay, so now this is me giving you this video now as, okay, well, now that the statistical move is done and I'm out, this is what could be happening next, right? So this was another way that we were, just to give you guys full discretion here, okay? So I merged psychology with statistics so that we can gain an edge over what the potentials were. So this gave us an inverted cup and handle, right? So, or an Adam and Eve formation, right? So this formation tends to have that downside all the way over here, right? To about 33 cents. Of course, we capitulated just under it. Remember, guys, this is a huge downside. So this is likely a psychological downside. So we don't tend to, we tend to not take this into too much account here, right? So this was just an indicator telling us that we could potentially face a bottom, since the stats are giving us on the 5-day and the 3-day backtest a potential up run given the conditions, right? So this is how BBBY was figured. Now let's look at the last part of the analysis. 30-minute immediate short-term time frame RSI suggesting a downside here. We look to, actually, that's not bad on the 4-hour, finding some support from that 14-day simple, but we actually may fail that. And why would we fail that? Well, the upper time frames are suggesting a potential continuation to the downside. Now, a lot of people ask me, ARCa, you look at time frames in the shorter to collapse into, or to domino effect into the higher term time frames. Yes, I do. But I also state that it's just conditional though. Okay, so if you're here, if that person is here that asked me that question, this is the condition now. When you are looking at time frames like 8-hour and the 12-hour, having that 14-day simple moving average not too far away from you, this type of distance here invalidates your shorter time frame, indicating that the shorter time frame may have a more relevant support later, particularly here at 43.80. Okay, which would then encourage the 14-day simple moving average to meet either the 8-hour or the 12-hour, which by nature have a higher hit rate since they are heavier time frames, right? So these are one of the conditions where I would favor a look back instead of the cascading of shorter time frames into the larger time frame. Okay, so this is one of those conditions that I would inverse that strategy. Okay, so now the 3-day time frame looks to be finding a little bit of resistance here. Okay, so I understand that it's very close to the resistance, but I would like to point out that the resistance is within the gravitational zone of the bear strength percentile, potentially indicating a continuation to the upside. Potentially is the key word here. Okay, so now the 5-day time frame, very similar situation here. In fact, the distance between the RSI signal and the 14-day is very far away. Okay, you guys, so that's it's kind of dangerous to kind of take that into consideration here. Okay, so if we are to look at the 5-day as a resistance touch to that 38.36, which is already within the gravitational zone of the bear strength, this 5-day time frame would be indicative of a touch to 90 cents to $1 in that target that we're talking about. Okay, you guys, so please remember that I have not backed that. And first and foremost, remember that I'm not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy or sell, hold any assets whatsoever. Okay, you guys, I need you to do your own due diligence and everything would be cool. All right, you guys, so please remember that I still have a few seats left in the ARC Masters Trading Course. Refer to the description below where you'll find the email. Send me an email. We'll get you enrolled. Okay, you guys, with that said, I wish you well, a very, very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.